Okay, so this is just a quick video to show the different elements of the game. I had somebody on Twitter talk about another game that was about distilling, and they, I guess, were disappointed with the game because it didn't really talk a lot about distilling. It was just resource conversion. And I don't know, I think my game's a little bit more involved than just resource conversion. I mean, other than, different mechanics like area control and whatnot. Um, so the first thing I want to say is that this game is more about work and the worker's point of view than it is about the distillery. The tequila distillery is a means to show this interesting dynamic in Mexico where you have these distilleries that have been around for ages, then you have local workers, and the distilleries get sold and bought by American, usually American. It could be other foreign bodies that come, even other local, other Mexicans that would buy it, and but usually it's Americans, that'll buy these distilleries and change maybe the name of the company. They might dress up and buy new bottles. They might do a whole lot of things, but it's basically the guys on the ground. It's business as usual. Some policy will come into play. Something about this place that they've been working at forever. It changes, but they're still doing basically the same job. So it's this interesting thing where you have this tequila company that is starting to make money. It's starting to do these things, but the guy on the ground is just trying to make ends meet. Um, I'm not trying to make it as sad as all that, but there is an element of, I guess it's kind of like a business gentrification kind of a thing. Um, and I don't really hit hard in that. I'm trying to show that. It's just kind of the running theme, and it's not really the point per se, but it is kind of this thing that I'm showing that I wanted to show, and I thought it would be really one of the reasons to do a tequila game or a game about um, tequila in particular was because of that interesting dynamic, and I guess it hits a little bit home because I am Mexican, or at least I need to do 13 and me. I don't know what percentage, but quite a bit. Anyway, okay. So let's talk about the game. This middle board here is the tequila distillery. And by the way, I'm not going to get preachy in the game, and you're not going to feel it. I don't think get preachy, but maybe you'll see it. I don't know. This middle thing is the board, and I'm just did basic simple graphics because of course they're going to change here and there. So this part right here is going to be the piñas, or you'll get the agave, which is a fruit. It's basically a cactus, and in the center part, the when you cut off all the leaves, you have the center part. They call it the piña. Piña also means the pineapple. So basically, it looks like a pineapple. So they'll call it the piña of the agave cactus. Okay, we are doing exclusively blue agave, but I haven't drawn agave plants or anything like that. I haven't done all the art. The yellow agave is ones that they're not high in sugar content. So in other words, they're just barely getting ripe. The orange agave are in the middle. If you kind of look at like a scale, you go from yellow to orange to red. Red have a lot of sugar. They're higher sugar content. So in when you're distilling tequila, the more sugar in the piña, the more the different it's going to change the taste of your tequila. Now, there's a lot of things that are going to come into effect, but I'm just breaking it down to I've got three different types of piñas. I mean, you could get if I wanted to get into the weeds, we can get into a brick amount, which is the amount of sugar content that is in each piña. But basically, uh, a distiller that's making a tequila, a really good tequila, they're gonna know about how much sugar content they want before they go and harvest them. And then these are pinas that have been basically harvested. Um, just a fact about the pinas right now is that every pina is accounted for, and I forgot what the name of the associated body. I had to go back and look, but basically, um, it's heavily regulated. You basically have your pinas bought, and I mean, you already know which ones are yours, and you wait for them to get ready, then you harvest them. Each pina is put into a section. There's a nom number on. If you look at a bottle of real tequila, it has a nom number. That nom number is where that row and section that those cactuses are at, and all that's kept track of. So if you get tequila from a distillery and you get like nom 981, I just made up a number, then you know where that tequila was harvested. Okay, so and whenever you're harvesting tequila, you would know the brick amount, basically how much sugar, what's the sugar content before you harvest. Then you harvest them. Okay, so in this game right here in this section, this is um, getting the tequila different types of harvest. We've got recipes for making tequila. So in this first section here, this one wants a, uh, a tequila with a lot of uh, sugar. So we're going to take a red one to do it. In this section, we're just showing, these are just the tokens to show that whenever the tequila is taken, this is to show that, okay, this one has this part of the formula taken care of. That's part of the work that's been done. Okay, so this is just to show that we've taken it from here and that nobody else at this point, because there's no more red tokens, can do anything until this agave is dealt with. So the next section here is I don't have it well illustrated, but you have a defuse way to deal with the agave. What you want to do is bake the agave or bake the pina to extract the sugars or to get the sugars ready for extraction. There's three different ways to do it. The diffuser is how like Jose Cuervo's made, or like your non-premium tequilas, because it's going to make it. I guess it's not. It's a way that is done that isn't. It doesn't taste the greatest. It's you'll make tequila, but it's going to have a very specific taste, and there's not a lot you can do to broaden the taste. There's not a lot of character to the taste, or I guess nuance to the character. There you go. There's not a lot of nuance when you defuse it, and everything's very, I guess, punchy. Where now we got the second thing here. So that's defuse, DEF. This is the autoclave method. The autoclave method. Okay, so defuse. The reason why you defuse it because it's fast. If you need to make a lot of tequila and you need to make it fast, you're gonna defuse it. Jose Cuervo, it works on a 24-hour cycle, so the business is always running and they're defusing. From what I remember, I think it's like 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. For a few, like double the time. I don't remember how long it takes to defuse. I guess I should look that up. It's been a while since I've done the research for setting out the board. But let's just say that autoclaving takes a lot more time than defusing. And the autoclave method, I believe, is like 8 hours or something like that or more. The autoclave method is the next step up, and it's a pressurized way to basically do what the baking method does, which is underneath it, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the autoclave method is a happy medium for some between defusing and baking, because it ups the time that you can roast your tequilas. You're doing it, I mean, your piñas from the agave, so that you can get it done faster, but you're also baking it instead of doing the defuse version. And so you can have a lot more nuance in the autoclave version. There's people that say that the autoclave version isn't as good as baking. It's definitely faster. There's people who have done methods where they say that they're able to mimic baking. The baking doesn't use pressure, and it's in just like huge ovens, and it takes the longest. It takes, like, let's just say double the autoclaves. Now I'm just the autoclave method. I'm just giving you an example. I can't say that it exactly takes double, but it takes a lot more than the autoclave version, and there's a lot more nuance. And your more traditional tequilas are going to go with baking. So in this tequila down here, this formula wants the autoclave version. Okay. So in this formula, let's say the way that we put these things in there. Let's say somebody decides to do the autoclave thing. So if somebody, I guess these things are like sectioned of work. So if I'm going to do the autoclave work, I promise to do it. On my player board, it's going to cost me an amount of time to do the autoclave. I'm going to set it here to show that the autoclave is going to get done, but it's not done yet. The reason it's not done is because the one on the top above it, the first one, isn't slotted in. And slotted in means it starts here at the very end, and then it moves over to the check mark. So when somebody finally, like, it could happen that somebody does this part. I'll talk about it in a second. They do this part, and it's also over here in this part where it's not checked in. Well, somebody finally does the first part, which gets the piña, and they cut it and they bring it. They do the work. Boom, it goes to there. Now the one underneath it will slot in because the top one's slotted in. It always starts with the top one. So the second one slots in, and we know that the autoclave, it's ready to cook. This is going to go back here. And then we also know that because the autoclave is going to be, it's at the autoclave, it's slotted in. The next one gets slotted in. Boom. Then this gets moved back here, and we go so on. Let's say there's a gap in the distillery section, and then we maybe have somebody here at the bottom at the barrel section. But I'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, we're still here. So these are the three types of methods. These are the cubes that it takes to do one of these methods. Here's the cubes that it costs to do one of those methods. Like buy one of these. So you buy one of these, you put one of these on the recipe to show that you're going to do it. If you're the first one, then you actually slide it over to the check mark, and then it's just kind of the way it works. The next part in this thing is the water. The water is used to mix with the solution that you've made over here in the baking section. You'll mix it with water, and you'll extract the sugar. Because the sugar and the water is what you're going to distill. Okay, so there's several types of water. Some places only run on rainwater. So let's call this first one rainwater. Other places can run on well water. Okay, and you can run, I haven't done this on this, well, other places run on a mixture of the two, which is going to be like a percentage of well water and a percentage of rainwater. And it also depends on the year, and all that's going to change the taste of the agave. So the recipe, so let's say you have a piña with very low sugar content, but you end up baking it and you use rainwater. Those are all characteristics of it, and very broad characteristics of it, because this is not a simulation. It's a board game. So that's to show these three different processes. The next process is distilling. We've got two types of stills in this factory, or in this distillery. We've got a metal still, a stainless steel, and then we've got copper stills. Now, there's people who claim that there's a difference in the taste, and so that's why we have both. I don't know. I mean, I can taste the difference in tequila, but I can't tell you that one was definitely copper, one was not. Okay, so in this blue section, this is going to be where it's aged. Now, tequila can be taken right off of there and not rested for very long, and that would be your silvers. Your silvers, a lot of your aficionados that like tequila will prefer a silver because it's hard to hide any of the imperfections earlier in the line when you do a silver. Now the imperfections, like they could put in fillers, they could put in sugars that weren't in the original plant. They could put in sugars that are from a different things. So you should be able to taste that, and the purity of your water, all that you should be able to taste in the silver part. So we've got this little expansion board for whenever you age it. A rested tequila or resposado, you would take this silver and you would take it over here and put it in a barrel, and 6 months or less is considered a rested or resposado. Your rested tequila is going to take on the characteristics of your barrel. I didn't put in a bunch of different types of barrels, but you can do. Generally, you'll get a barrel that was used for wine, or was used for brandy, or was used for whiskey, and they'll rest their tequila in it. They can get some brand new barrels, but usually, if they want to do something funky, they'll mix it in one of those, and it doesn't take on a huge taste difference, but what it does is give it some more nuance. The next section on this thing will be the barrels that are going to be. I'm in the game. It's the same barrel, but we're going to just hold it longer. So tequilas that have been 6 months plus, up to 2 years, get the designation of uh, what is it? It's Resposado. It is what is it? Crap! My mind just went blank. Añejo. Your añejos are somewhere between 6 months and 2 years, and then after that, I could be a little bit wrong with the dates. I'll get all that right. I had it all at one time, but I've been working for a year on this game, so I forgot some of that info. After that, we're gonna look at extra añejo, but I didn't put that in the game. Okay, the other side is this pink section. This pink section, I've just got 3 different colors of tokens. They're just let's look at the same color. 3 colors of tokens. The interesting thing is that ordering glass is an issue. Especially during the pandemic, glass was hard to get. So during the game, you have to order glass. Basically, you're going to put it here and then pay resources to get it ready for your bottles. So whenever the tequila gets here, it's ready to bottle. You need to have the glass ordered and ready to bottle it. So if you look at this um, recipe, it wants a red piña. It wants to go into the autoclave. It wants rainwater. It wants to be in a copper distillery. It wants to be a silver, and it wants this lighter pink glass. There's no real representation of what this goes for glass. We're just saying we've got glass. We had to order it. We brought it in. There's 3 different types. There's no significance to it. So that is the game. You'll start at the very beginning with contracts that are basically small contracts. Other distilleries or other places have asked you to harvest the agave for them, roast the agave for them, and also extract the sugar for them, and then you would sell them what you got, and they would take it to another distillery and do that part. So let's say they're in another area and they don't for the sake of the game, they didn't have good rainfall or whatever. They don't have piñas that are available, and sourcing piñas is a really big deal, especially since they're all accounted for. So they contract you to make the first part. So the first part of the game, you are just doing these export contracts. When you get That's at the very beginning of the game, and then after we do a few of those contracts, we get into the in-house tequilas, and then we start making some formulas, and we might make some silvers, and then we might make some resposados and some añejos. And all we're doing, if we're not tasting them, we're not selling them in the game. I mean, although I could probably add it, you have work that you're doing as you spend resources. These go up, and you get bonuses for using certain resources. You'll get bonuses for doing certain jobs. Each time you use a resource, it's worth an amount of time. That amount of time is added to your calendar. So in other words, if I use this blue, let's say I'm going to use this blue, I get one of these two bonuses. It gives me a size 5 that I must put in my calendar because I'm working in this first month. I put it in there. This blue was to get this thing cost a blue to put the rainwater on, let's say this one, let's say there. That's how that part works. It's way more complicated than that, and there's a lot more going on. But so the players doing all this, getting uh, victory points for doing that. But the big thing is they're also, when they work on the weekend, you make overtime, and then one of the bonuses is overtime, and you get, coins as a resource, and education as a resource, and ideas as a resource. You end up converting those into victory points. One of the things you do as a worker, say in the first round, you'd think about buying a phone. You can buy like an Apple phone, a flip phone, 3 flip phones for your family, or you can buy a couple of Droid phones. I mean, buy yourself a Droid phone, which only costs 2 overtime. We're buying the flip phones cost 4 overtime. We're buying the Apple phone. It's going to cost you 6 overtime. Uh, just to note, these columns end up adding to the same amount of victory points. It's just when the swing is difficult to do it. So you could start off here buying an Android and then go down here. But once you get to buying a house, it costs 8 overtime versus these, and these numbers will be adjusted, but each one is difficult at a certain pace in the game depending on what you're doing. You can choose not to go down a column and always try to get the most expensive thing. So you want to get the Apple phone, so in the first month you're going to try to do 6 overtime, and then let's say you want to go on a cabin retreat, so you're going to do that and try to have 4 days off, and then you want to go to, let's say, the theme park. It's going to take 5 days off, and then let's say you want to buy a house and you need to come up with 8 overtime. The catch is every time you do overtime, it gives you sad faces. So it's like 3 sad to work on a Saturday, 4 sad to work on a Friday, on a Sunday, because of course Sunday's church day in a very Catholic part of the world. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. You'll have an event to start the round. That's just to give you an idea of what's going on. So you are sending tequila, doing the monotonous factory work. The tequila is being shipped off and sold. You are just trying to make your living. All that is subject to change. This is just to give you a basic idea of what's going on in the game. There's an outcast of what the year is going to look like as far as how these things are built to work in your calendar, what it looks like. This is an actual year. I think it might even be this year. I don't remember what year this calendar is set for. It's been a while since I built it. But anyway, so that's just giving you a basic idea of what this tequila game has and what it's doing. There's no real detail on how these things work and stuff, but maybe that gives you an idea of what direction I'm going in. Anyway, all right. So thanks for watching.